Hello guys, it's me, Reysious, and it's time for a new devlog. So for those who don't know, I'm currently working on a multiplayer dueling game, which is kind of inspired by Battlefront 2, but it will be themed around Greek mythology, and you will play as Greek gods or goddesses. So since the last devlog, I started with organizing my project a lot more, by pretty much starting over in a new Unity project, but I of course reused most of the stuff from the previous project, just made it a lot more clean and organized. I also used the opportunity to upgrade the Unity engine to the newest text stream version and implemented Tom Weiland's new reliable European networking called Riptide, and it's a lot better, faster and easier to use, while still pretty much leaving me with full control, unlike some high-level networking APIs like for instance Mirror. I now also made the local player prefab work without networking, so that I don't have to have an extra player object for single player testing and can just use the local player prefab to test things directly. Because sometimes it's good to be able to just test things quickly without connecting to the server every time, because that obviously slows you down quite a bit if you want to quickly test something. I also improved the controller rig and cascader to let me have more control over the character and obviously make more realistic looking animations, and I also made new attack animations because the old ones were looking like shit. Like, this is the old one from the previous devlog, and these are the new ones. I also realized that my previous combat system was extremely flawed, pretty much a pain to work with, so I now let the state machine that controls the animations also control the timing of the hit detection stuff by adding a state machine behavior to each animation state, which lets the melee combat script know when and which animation starts or exits, and can thereby determine what to do next. So basically I'm now taking advantage of the animation controller state machine as a state machine and not just as an animation controller. I also fixed a bunch of weird behaviors with animations by organizing the animation layers a bit better. I mean, it still looks like a mess, but I still know what's going on and it's working way better now than it did before. So I also added parry. With my first attempt you had to literally predict your opponent's attack to be able to parry, because if you press just slightly after your opponent started attacking, it wouldn't work. I then tried to make it more reactive so that you can actually parry someone when they attack you and don't have to predict when they are going to attack you. However, I'm afraid this is going to lead to some really cheesy gameplay, because now the one with the most patience will pretty much auto-win, since all you have to do is wait for your opponent to attack you and then parry. And I mean, parry still isn't super easy, but I thought I could kind of counter this behavior by making the parry time frame a lot smaller, so it would be like extremely hard to parry. Or I could make it like it was, where you have to basically predict when your opponent is going to attack you. Or just add another way to kinda counter parry. Because I definitely want parry to be a thing in this game, but I don't want people to just stand there and block and wait for their opponents to attack them and then just win by doing nothing, pretty much. Definitely feel free to let me know what you think about this in the comments, or if you have any ideas on how to balance this in a way. I'll leave it as is for now, but it's definitely something I'll be coming back to at some point. And now this is where the fun begins. So I wanted to start working on abilities, but I thought it would be good to have some sort of knockdown and recover system first. So I added Ragdoll components to the character rig, so that the character mesh can now be controlled by animations and also Ragdoll. Then I added a method that would add impulse force to the Ragdoll, so that later when I add abilities I can just call that method and use it to push the remote player away. And now this is where the really tricky part comes, transitioning from the procedural pose from the Ragdoll to the start pose of a get up animation. Luckily I found some code for this on the internet, but it quickly turned out that was designed for rather simpler rigs. Because when I tried to use it with my rather complex rig from CC3, this happened. But luckily, after some modifications, I finally got it working. So when you would be lying on the back, it would play this animation, and otherwise this animation. And I'm pretty happy with the result. I then did a few small improvements with the weight painting of the character clothing, and added clothing to my other ready characters, Hecate, Poseidon and Hades. And for now I just gave them the same clothing Zeus has, since I didn't feel like spending a lot of time on clothing creation right now, but I'll definitely do that later on, since like every character having the same clothing would be really boring in my opinion, so it's something I'll work on later on. I then imported the characters to the game engine and made a hero selection screen, which I was quite happy with, but it kinda reminded me heavily of Battlefront 2's selection screen. But then Liam Betts made this awesome texture for the border image, and now it looked a lot better and also unique. The selected indicator will probably be improved later on though. I then wrote a hero manager script which keeps track of each hero's graphical objects, rig/ragdoll, and also stuff like abilities. And the ability system is quite modular, so I could easily like swap abilities between characters. And it's also really organized since the whole code for the ability is inside a scriptable object, and each ability class derives from an abstract base ability class with the abstract methods execute and cancel, which each ability class then overrides. I then wrote the first ability and made ragdolls work over the networking, which actually took me ages since I did some really stupid mistakes. But finally I got it working, and you can now knock down your opponents, and it looks pretty good on both screens. Just don't mind the visual effects. I'll obviously work on those. And yeah, I have a lot to learn when it comes to VFX anyways, so... And also for some reason the ability animation is rarely ever playing. I'll have to figure out what's the cause for that. Since it's always playing in the state machine, but like you still can't see the animation for some weird reason. But to be honest, I probably just did something really stupid again, and I'm going to ask myself what the fuck is wrong with me when I figure it out. Okay, I think that's pretty much everything for this devlog. Hope you all enjoyed watching, and I hope it wasn't too technical, or at least not boring. I sadly can't explain everything in detail, cause then the video would probably go like 3 hours, if not more. But I could of course always make a video explaining something in detail if someone wants a detailed explanation on how I did certain things. But anyways, I don't make these kind of videos way too often, so I could probably use some feedback so that I can improve them as much as possible in the future. Okay, I think that was pretty much it. Thank you all for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye!